Hello, my friend, my companion in this gentle darkness. Life is naturally like a rushing river, and with each passing day, we are like stones swept along by its current. But tonight, let yourself be a leaf, gently landing on the surface of a still lake. Peace does not lie in the world outside, ceasing its movement, but in the moment you allow your heart to lay down its weary armor. Breathe in deeply the scent of a pure night, and breathe out all that is old. You are safe. You are protected by the grace of the darkness and the warmth of your own soul. Join me as we begin the journey back to stillness amidst the vast, white snow valley. My companion in this gentle darkness. Life is naturally like a rushing river, and with each passing day, we are like stones swept along by its current. But tonight, let yourself be a leaf, gently landing on the surface of a still lake. Peace does not lie in the world outside, ceasing its movement, but in the moment you allow your heart to lay down its weary armor. Breathe in deeply the scent of a pure night, and breathe out all that is old. You are safe. You are protected by the grace of the darkness and the warmth of your own soul. Join me as we begin the journey back to stillness amidst the vast, white snow valley. You are ready to listen to a story of healing. Your heart is opening as gently as an old wooden door being pushed ajar. There is no rush. There is nothing to worry about. You are being guided by absolute peace. The stillness of the valley is enveloping you, like the embrace of Mother Nature, like the warmth of a loved one. One more deep breath. Feel the fullness in your chest, then exhale completely, feeling a peaceful emptiness. When the body is fully relaxed, when the mind is as still as a frozen winter lake, we will step into the space of Silverwood Valley. Let me take you a little further through the silver-gray clouds to land in Silverwood Valley. This is a place that the maps of busy people often forget, but it is the destination for souls seeking refuge. The valley lies nestled between the towering peaks of the Alps, peaks so sharp they seem to want to touch the stars. On this Christmas night, Silverwood appears like an ink wash painting rendered in silver ink and charcoal. The snow falls incessantly, but it is not a fierce storm. These are large, fluffy, and light snowflakes, falling as leisurely as cherry blossoms in a spring breeze, carrying the pure cold of winter. Imagine standing on a high hilltop, looking down at the panoramic view of the valley. Wooden houses are scattered about, their roofs covered in a thick layer of snow, looking like cakes frosted with white cream. The light here is special, a honey gold glow radiating from small window frames. Each spot of light represents a family, a story, a unique warmth. Streams of colored lights are blinking faintly behind the veil of white snow. If you take a deep breath, you will find the air here tastes like sweet ice and smells of the earthy resin of old pine. Tall pine trees stand guard along the paths, their branches heavy under the weight of snow, occasionally shivering and sending a clump of snow tumbling down with a soft thud against the ground. Silverwood is not just a physical space, it is a space of sound. To listen closely, to hear the wind whistling gently through the rocky mountain passes. That sound is like a sigh from the great forest, profound and forgiving. And then, woven into the wind, is the ticking of pendulum clocks in the ancient houses. In the center of the valley, the small stream flowing through the village is not yet completely frozen. The dark water weaves between snow-covered boulders, creating a beautiful contrast. The sound of water gurgling beneath a thin layer of ice sounds like a whisper from Mother Earth. Let us move closer toward the edge of the forest, where the wooden house of Elias the carpenter sits. His home is slightly isolated, surrounded by old oaks and neatly stacked piles of wood. Elias's windows are small and aged, but through the frost-misted glass, you can see the flickering fire in the hearth nearby, looking toward the village square. Clara's winter bakery radiates a different aura. A curl of white smoke rises from the chimney, carrying the scent of ginger cookies, rich butter, and deep chocolate. This is the warm heart of the valley, where, no matter how cold the outside world may be, people still find sweetness. Everything is waiting for something sacred to happen. A connection between stranger souls, a healing for old wounds. Silverwood tonight is like a warm cocoon, where you can curl up and let stories lead the way. There is no rush, no judgment, only snow, warm fire, and the slow beats of the valley's heart. Let yourself melt into this space, feeling absolute safety as you are enveloped by stone walls and high mountain ridges. You have truly entered the world of Silverwood, where every falling snowflake carries a blessing of peace. In the stillness of Christmas night at Silverwood, time is no longer measured by clock hands, but by the crackling of wood in the hearth and the rhythm of snowflakes falling on the porch. At the small wooden house near the forest edge, Elias sits leaning back in his old rocking chair. His hands, once so accustomed to holding chisels and planes, now tremble slightly as he holds a cup of ginger tea. The scars on his hands are wordless journals of a lifetime of diligent labor. Elias loves wood. He understands the language of every grain of oak and pine. Crack, crack. The fire licks gently at a dry log, casting a rosy heat across Elias's aged face. He stares into the flames, where tiny red sparks vanish like falling stars in the embers. He is thinking of Marcus at 10 years old, who shared a hard piece of black bread with him on the mountain top behind the village. They had once sworn to protect this valley together, to create wonders with their bare hands. But then, the tides of life pushed them apart. One stayed with the raw grains of wood, the other left and returned with contracts, numbers, and a heart that seemed frozen by power. Not far away, at the winter bakery, Clara is performing the final steps for the Christmas batch of cakes. Her kitchen is the warmest place in the valley, where the scents of cinnamon, star anise, and fragrant butter blend into an atmosphere thick with comfort. She kneads the dough rhythmically, her hands covered in white dust, as if she were kneading the very dreams of the villagers. Clara knows everyone's worries. Master Marcus, Elias's old friend, is now the owner of most of the land in the valley. He intends to reclaim the old workshops to build a luxury resort. If that happens, the soul of Silverwood, its skilled craftsmen, will have to leave their homeland. There must be a miracle, she thinks, as she sprinkles sparkling sugar over the cakes. Swish, swish, the sound of hands rubbing against the supple, smooth dough, the sound of patience and hope. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept into the shop, bringing a wave of piercing, cold, and swirling snowflakes. Clara looked up and saw a blurry silhouette through the frost-misted glass. It was not a familiar customer. She opened the door and the chill rushed in, but it was immediately dispelled by the heat from the ovens. Standing before her was Julian, a young man with a face pale from the cold, yet his eyes held a strange urgency. His carriage was mired in the snow just behind the bakery. In his hands, he held a mysterious wooden box. Julian did not ask for food, or a place to sleep for himself. The first words he uttered were to ask for directions to the house of Elias, the carpenter. Clara, with her kind nature and the woman's intuition, realized that this young man was the key to something very important. Without hesitation, she untied her apron, slipped on her warm sheepskin cloak, and guided Julian out into the white night. They walked along the trail, the snow now knee-deep. Every step was an effort. The sound of snow crunching beneath their soles, crunch, crunch, echoed steadily in the silent space. Julian told Clara about his late father, a talented but quiet carpenter who had spent his entire life completing one final masterpiece for Silverwood Valley. At the same time, on the main road leading to the forest edge, a luxurious carriage was moving slowly. Inside sat Marcus, He sat in silence, his eyes fixed on the board. In his hand was an anonymous letter with handwriting that was heartbreakingly familiar. Find the final piece. That sentence repeated over and over in his mind. Marcus was weary from the battles of the business world. Tonight, returning to the valley, he felt smaller and lonelier than ever amidst the grandeur of the mountains and forests. At Elias's house, as the fire in the hearth began to soften, a knock sounded at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Elias was surprised. In a snowy night like this, who would come looking for him when the heavy wooden door opened? He could not believe his eyes. Clara was supporting a young man, and behind them, Marcus had just stepped down from his luxurious carriage. 4 people with 4 different burdens of the heart stood together in the room scented with wood and pine essential oil. Tension filled the air. Elias looked at Marcus with reproachful eyes, while Marcus looked at his old friend with a confusion hidden behind his stern demeanor. Julian stepped toward the oak table in the center of the room. He placed the wooden box down solemnly. He slowly opened the lid. The fragrance of sandalwood and beeswax wafted out, gentle and pure. Inside was a panoramic model of Silverwood Valley, carved with unbelievable intricacy. Every house, every pine branch, and even the small stream appeared vividly, but the most special detail lay at the center. 2 wooden boys sitting back to back by the stream, one holding a chisel, the other holding a small notebook. "This is the gift my father left for both of you," Julian said, his voice trembling with emotion. "My father was the one taught the craft by Master Elias, and he was also the one whose life was saved by Master Marcus in the avalanche years ago. He never forgot your kindness. He wanted to remind you that this valley is held together not by land or money, but by the bond between the people who love it." Marcus stepped closer, his fingers gently touching the form of the wooden boy. A surge of memory ran down his spine. He remembered that day when he and Elias made their vow beneath the old pine tree. He remembered why he wanted to succeed. It was to be able to protect this place, not to destroy it. The layers of ice in Marcus's heart began to melt, like snow meeting the spring sun. Elias could not contain his emotion either. He saw in Marcus not a greedy rich man, but a friend who had lost his way. The silence now was no longer frightening. It was the silence of understanding. "Marcus," Elias called softly, "the wood is still in the hearth. Would you like to sit down for a cup of ginger tea?" That simple sentence broke every barrier. Marcus removed his expensive sheepskin coat and sat in the chair opposite Elias. Clara quickly brought out a tray of warm gingerbread cookies. and a pot of thick chocolate she had brought from the bakery. Julian sat down beside them as well, feeling the burden on his shoulders finally being lowered. Crackle. The sound of the fire burning more vibrantly, as if the hearth itself were cheering at this reunion. Marcus spoke slowly. I have gone too far, Elias. I thought I was building a future, but it turns out I was destroying my own foundation. The resort project will be cancelled. Instead, we will establish a preservation fund for the woodworking craft of Silverwood. Julian, you will be the one to help us realize that. Warmth spread throughout the room, not just from the fire, but from the hearts that had found one another. Outside, the snowstorm seemed to calm, to make way for a peaceful space. Clara gently opened the window. The snow had stopped falling. A starry sky appeared, sparkling like diamond grains on a black velvet backdrop. At that moment, from the church bell tower in the village center, the bells began to ring. Dong, ding, dong, ding. Bells were deep and resonant, echoing across the mountainside, signaling a new beginning. Then, from the trails, candlelight began to appear. The villagers, hearing the news of the reconciliation, flocked together toward Elias's house. Singing began to rise, at first as tiny as the wind, then growing louder, warm and harmonious. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. The children held small silver bells in their hands, shaking them rhythmically to create a crisp jingle bell sound. The scent of fragrant candles mingled with the smell of clean snow, creating an indescribably sacred feeling. Clara brought batches of cakes out to the porch, sharing them with the children. Elias and Marcus stood side by side at the door, smiling as they watched the valley glowing in the candlelight. They realized that true miracles are not distant things, but forgiveness and compassion itself. The night grew late, the songs drifted away, and the villagers began to return home in peace. In the wooden house, the four remained seated together, sharing stories of the past and plans for the future. The fire in the hearth was now only glowing embers, emitting a soft light that lulled every sense. Every conflict, every worry, every wound had been soothed by the warmth of human connection. Silverwood Valley slept better tonight than any other night in its history. The last snowflakes fell as gentle as an angel's kiss on the foreheads of those fast asleep. The sound of a light breeze. Whoosh. The candle is extinguished, leaving only soft darkness and the warmth of reconciliation. As the story ends, we see that even the deepest rifts can be mended with sincerity. Sometimes we lose our way in ambition and pain, but with just a spark of compassion, the coldest winter will turn into a warm spring. Let this story linger in your mind as a reminder of love and forgiveness, leading you into a very deep and peaceful sleep. Now, as the final words of the story of Silverwood Valley have seeped deep into your soul, feel the space around you gradually becoming hazy. The images of Elias, Marcus, Clara, and Julian begin to dissolve like snowflakes touching a warm palm, turning into a gentle mist enveloping your mind. The church bells from afar are now only a very thin, light echo, like a long resonance in memory. The shimmering candlelight on the valley paths is receding, making way for a darkness as soft as velvet. You are no longer standing on the wooden porch. You are floating between the boundary of dream and reality. This transition is so smooth, where the warmth from the hearth in the story merges as one with the warmth from the quilt enveloping your body right now. Listen to the rain of stillness, the silence in Silverwood after the singing has ceased is a special kind of sound. It is thick, dense, and incredibly peaceful. It is not an emptiness, but the fullness of compassion that has been replenished. You feel the final knots in your mind being untied, the worries about work, the plans for tomorrow, or the regrets of yesterday, all are vanishing like the streaks of white smoke escaping from Elias's chimney and dissolving into the great night sky. The heaviness on your eyelids now is the most pleasant thing in the world. You no longer need to try to observe anything. All images are now just patches of warm gold and deep blue, intertwining, moving slowly to the rhythm of your breath. You feel like a small boat, needing no steering, simply drifting along the current of absolute relaxation. The space around you seems to be expanding, vast yet incredibly safe. The winter cold outside is merely an excuse for you to cherish the warmth you have even more. The scent of oak, the pungent cinnamon, and the sweetness of chocolate still linger somewhere, but they are no longer physical scents. They are the fragrance of peace in the soul. Everything is becoming lighter. Gravity seems to no longer exist. You are merging with the silence of the universe, where every breath out is a time you return your weariness to the world, and every breath in is a time you receive the comfort of the night. The smallest sounds, like the crackling of wood or the soft rustle of snow on the roof, are also fading, smaller and smaller, until they are just a steady rhythm, lulling you into a realm without the concept of time. You are dissolving into rest. No more Elias, no more Marcus, only you and pure peace, that you might be free to wander in the forest of dreams, where the snow is always white and the heart is always warm. You are standing at the threshold of a very deep sleep, where all boundaries between you and peace have completely blurred. Everything is fine. Everything is complete. The world outside continues to turn, but right now, in this room, there is only absolute stillness. Let yourself sink deeper still, melting into the gentle darkness, embracing you. Now, let it all drift away. No more story, no more images, no more thoughts. Only the gentle darkness and your soft breath remain. You are sinking deep into a region of absolute quietude, where peace is the only thing that exists. Feel the restful heaviness of your eyes. You do not want to open them anymore, and there is no need to. The world has receded behind the door, making way for the total rest of the soul. Every cell in your body is being healed by the silence. Sleep is coming, natural and smooth as snow falling on a frozen lake. In the hearth of the mind, the last logs have burned out, leaving only the smoldering embers, emitting a gentle warmth that surrounds you. That warmth is like a protective cocoon, separating you from all noise and cold. You are in the safest, freest state. Imagine you are lying in the middle of a white snowfield under the silver moonlight, yet you do not feel cold at all. The snow surrounds you like a giant cotton mattress, soft and fluffy. You sink deep into that comfort. With every breath out, you sink a little deeper, deeper still into sleep. The starry sky above is guarding your sleep. The stars sparkle like silent blessings from the universe. Every heartache, every physical fatigue is now wiped clean. You are as white and pure as Silverwood Valley in the early morning before any footprints. The space now is only a mysterious but incredibly warm black. You no longer hear the wind, no longer hear the bells. Only the slow, steady beat of your heart remains, the beat of life resting to regenerate. Sleep now. Let dreams lead you to the most beautiful places, where love and reconciliation always exist. Sleep deeply, so deep, peaceful, secure. Good night. Before you sink completely into sleep, if tonight's story brought you comfort, don't forget to come back and leave a comment to let me know tomorrow morning. Your interaction is the motivation for me to continue weaving beautiful dreams. Wish you a good night's sleep and to wake up with a heart full of light. See you again tomorrow night on our channel.